lot of gaming.
He pulled some all-nighters.
That is, I don't think people understand how much gaming that is. All right, everybody, welcome back to Parents vs. Gaming. This is episode 63. I am James the Third, joined by Killa Kane. I'm going to introduce you, Killa, and let you know if you are listening audio later in the week or you're watching us on YouTube, we do record these live one Sunday a month. And Killa, let everyone know where they can find you.
Twitch.tv/KillaKane0801. And you can usually find me Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays.
You can tell it's a little bit later. It's our third episode recording tonight because Killa went from the being very excited and very loud to
being very quiet.
She's like her ASMR. It's Twitch.tv.
Be quiet.
Twitch.tv/KillaKane. You can hear me typing here.
Listen, it also doesn't help that my family has also gone to bed already.
Yeah, same. I'm downstairs, not in a closed off bedroom anymore, so I have to be a little bit aware of that.
Yeah.
So this is probably going to be a little bit faster episode, but we want to dive back into, I know the last couple of weeks we talked about Kick and we talked about the games that we're playing. We went over Scum and Small Land and things like that. So now we're going to go back into a kind of a parenting tip topic, and this topic is what happens to kids' brains when they play video games, according to a psychologist. First of all, amazing title. This is by Emma Singer. You can find this on purewow.com. I will put the link in the description. I just Googled stuff about parenting and video games and kids and stuff, and this came up. But we won't go through, I'm not going to sit here and bore everyone and go through the entire thing. But I kind of want to talk about or show you what it is, the concept of it. So obviously, Killa, this comes up a lot when you talk about your what happens to your kids' brains. Do you get this? I know you mod for a couple of channels, and you probably have other parents that have kids, and they might reach out to you. Do you have a lot of people that worry about that video games are ruining the kid's brain? What's your initial thought before we dive into this?
Okay, so on my end, your mic cut out horribly, so I have no idea what you asked me.
Oh no.
Oh, I think it's literally just me because I know a lot of people say they can hear you. So I think it's for some reason it's on my end. Like I said, it's your amazing Discord. Need to uninstall and reinstall Discord. You were just asking my opinion.
Just your opinion on people saying, video games are going to rot your kids' brains. Don't let them play. What's your first? It really doesn't
want you to ask me that question. So basically, you want me to about like whether people think about like ruining kids.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Because it literally cut out right as you started saying that. I'm like, it really doesn't want me to know what he's asking.
Yeah, apparently.
The joys of technology and its wonderful, wonderful difficulties. No, it won't ruin your child. That's just my opinion. Now, I do feel like you definitely have to moderate your children because children do not know how to moderate themselves quite yet. So definitely, don't just let them sit there and play video games all day long and do nothing else.
Again, we say everything in moderation.
Everything in moderation. That is like our slogan. Everything in moderation. So yeah, I don't think it will ruin a child. Now, if you let the child sit there and play games from sunup to sundown and they don't do anything else, it could become harmful. So.
All right, so let's dive into this a little bit. Can you hear me now? Is
it
okay? I can like a Verizon commercial.
It's fine now.
I know. It talks about, just talks about the subject of video games and their effect on the developing brain has long been of interest to parents. Will that PlayStation steal your tween's innocence and ruin him for years to come? When should you lay down the law and unplug the Xbox? Are these violent games going to create a monster? Listen, this is clearly a PlayStation fan because they talk about unplugging the Xbox, but they didn't say any of that about PlayStation.
For the PlayStation, I know.
Yeah, ridiculous. It's just the hate on Xbox is nonstop, even when they're trying to write an article about your brain. I do like how it says here, first, the good news. Video games are no longer regarded as the root of all evil by the scientific community. That is a huge plus for the gaming community. In fact, recent research suggests that playing video games can actually be beneficial for kids. But don't abandon those screen time rules just yet, friends. Instead, keep reading for a more complete picture of what happens to kids' brains when they play video games, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, it goes on, it kind of talks about the brain's reward center lights up, and it talks about, getting that dopamine effect that you're going to have. That's probably the biggest thing I would take from this first part. It really kind of dives into that and what different studies that they've done and how just the exciting things that games are able to grab your attention. If you read a book, you're kind of at the pace that you're reading and it can kind of be too much, but a game is like, some of the very successful TV shows are the same way, right? Like they just, it's just flash, constant. And before you can even really understand what's going on, sometimes you're already on to the next thing. So just constant content. So your brain is just soaking all this in. And again, I don't know how many times we have to say this, but that's why you really need to do the moderation. Should you let your kid play Fortnite for 7 hours a day? No. But can you let them play for 30 minutes after school before they then have to go do homework? Yeah, maybe it calms them down, does a little bit of different stuff, helps them relax, or maybe they just get excited, then maybe they have dinner, then they do some homework. So again, set the limits, but let your kids do the limits. We had US Bobber, he used to be on the show with us in past years, and one of the things he does with his kids, which I really, really like, and I'll probably do with Parker, is he gives his kids an X amount of time per day. Now, how they choose to use those hours or the time that they have to game, it's obviously shorter on school and then sometimes more on the weekends, but whatever limit they get for that day, if they decide to use it all at nighttime, that's when they can use it. If they decide to use it all in the morning before school, that's when they use it. But when that time is up, the time is up. But it allows them to kind of create their own schedule, which I always think is pretty interesting. Kia, your thoughts on kind of the brain getting lit up with video games?
Okay, so I like the whole making your own schedule type thing. My kid has actually been very good about making his own schedule. Like he's always been really good with it, and he can always tell when something's bothering him too much or he needs to do something, because I've instilled in him, if something's making you angry, you need to take a break. And that applies not just with video games, it applies with his schooling too. So I homeschool. And there are times, and some days he gets a little more frustrated easily, or easier than others, and then other days he just flies through his stuff. So there are days where he gets like super frustrated with his schoolwork, like whatever he's doing, whether he's having a hard time, he's not processing the information like he normally does or whatever, and he starts exhibiting those signs of frustration. I'll stop him and I'll be like, okay, take a deep breath. And I'll be like, okay, are you getting frustrated? And he's like, yes. And I said, okay, go take a break. And that break is whatever he wants, whether he wants to have a snack, go sit down and watch a little bit of his TV show, or play a little bit of a game, or even go play with his own toys, or go jump on the trampoline, run around outside, like whatever it is. He gets a little bit of a break, and then he will come back and he'll be like, okay, Mom, I'm ready to sit down and do the rest of it. And he instantly starts getting his he starts processing it better. So sometimes it's just they need that break so their brain can just stop for a second and just shut off for just a few minutes, just to like reset, a hard reset kind of thing. And sometimes that works really well. Now, I'm not going to say that works for everybody. I'm not going to say it works for every kid or every situation. So yeah, but I can say that applying those rules, even when it comes to like gaming and their schoolwork, it's wonders. Because my son, so last weekend we ran a customs game with a friend of mine. He really wanted to let Kane play with him, and Kane really wanted to show one of his friends how to play Pathfinder, which is an Apex legend. And he came into the room at one point, was like, Mommy, I'm getting really upset and I need to eat something. I'm hungry. He's like, so this is going to be my last game. And that was it.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. So he went, he played the last game. he got off of it. And I had told the friends, I said, he's frustrated and he needs something to eat and he knows that that's what's causing the problem. And so he recognized it. Now my child is 7 years old and he recognized that he had a problem and what the problem was and what would fix it.
But by setting those limits that you've done and the moderations that you've set over time, that's how he was able to eventually get to that on his own. Like it's not like he started like that. And that's where you can get this. I mean, the biggest thing, I mean, even right here in the article, the last sentence, the biggest takeaway, video games serve up so much pleasure that without setting limits on gaming time, kids are at a risk of getting hooked on a dopamine rush that few other activities can provide. And that's the biggest red flag when it comes to gaming, is that games are designed to get you hooked in a way that they can provide this dopamine rush. So you got to learn how to balance that. But they can get that dopamine rush from things that aren't gaming and have the same issues. So it's not that gaming is evil, but that's why you want to learn how to set the limits to allow them, because you want them to have that feeling.
Yes.
They just don't want to get hooked on that feeling. This article goes on to talk about the prefrontal cortex is the activated boost of cognition. So you get into a lot more of the science patterns here. Sleep patterns. That is something that you should be aware of. Again, this is why, we're on here defending on how you should allow your kid to play more video games. I'm going to look the other way here and again, reinforce that moderation and pay attention to what your kid's playing, because if they're constantly excessive gaming, you're going to run into the insomnia, the poor sleep quality. This is probably me. This is a lot due to blue light exposure. Now, what's great about the blue light stuff, if they wear glasses, you can get blue light glasses. That's what my glasses are. You can set your monitors to blue light. So maybe
most technology, even phones now have a blue light setting.
Yeah. So look into things like that can really help. And don't, the thing that gets confused with that, I hear this a lot. People use I use the blue light when it's nighttime. No, use it all the time. Like put that setting on all the time. I actually get less headaches now that I wear my glasses that have the blue light stuff in the lenses. It talks here about the attention spans might suffer. Again, this gaming to me isn't causing them to have. It's like we just talked about the ADHD. If you want to go back and watch that was a couple of weeks ago. We talk about, do games cause ADHD? Games do not cause ADHD, but the reason that parents don't understand video games think that is that when a kid that has ADHD or is diagnosed with it, the video game keeps their attention. You just talked about that. We talked about that at the beginning of this episode of just how it's just one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. So some kid that has ADHD is able, the game will keep their attention span. Now, if you don't moderate that and let them just run wild with it, now it seems to be their one thing that's constant in their life that is able to keep their attention. So it seems like they're addicted. They're not even necessarily addicted to the game. They're addicted to the thing that's able to keep their attention. Aggressive behavior. This is probably the biggest thing that I would say, that this part right here is probably where video games started to get their bad stigma. The aggressive behavior. I can tell you so many stories about me breaking a controller, throwing my Nintendo across the room. Games can be frustrating, especially multiplayer games. To me, this behavior and the anxiety and stuff can happen with anything, not just gaming. But if someone it's like you talked about, Kane being tired and need to eat. Imagine if before he understood how to do that, how much more aggressive behavior and anxiety is he going to have if he didn't realize what he needed and he kept trying to play?
Yeah. So I kind of think this was really cool. So I kind of think it would be neat for us to do, but Demi said we need to do an episode on how to help a child emotional regulation, how to help them with that.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
That's basically what I teach Kane. So, and Kane is fairly good at. Now, is he perfect? No, he has times where he gets upset and I have to remind him, but he's 7. It's our job as a parent to kind of help our children learn how to grow and understand their feelings, and understand where they stem from and what might be the possible problem. So I think it would be kind of neat to do an episode on that as well.
Yeah, we should have Ender be our test subject, because he just admitted to all the rage quitting he does in games.
So I can honestly...
he says he's the model of a calm gamer. I can tell you that's completely wrong, because he loses his mind at me when I don't do correct things in video games.
That's so funny. Okay,
and he's a grown-ass man.
I have not ever broken a controller or keyboard or mouse ever.
Are you a real gamer?
I am a real gamer.
I'm just kidding.
It's just, my dad had enough money to buy the PlayStation when it came out, and that was it. He didn't have money to replace controllers and all that wonderful stuff. So if we got mad, that was our butt if he saw us throw that controller. So,
Yeah.
And he always made it very clear to us. And I know I've said this multiple times in multiple episodes. My dad always made it very clear to us that video games are meant to be fun. And if you are getting upset and frustrated with it and mad and angry, then it's time for you to stop and take a break. And which is something I tell my child all the time. But I do think it would be nice to kind of like dive into maybe some techniques that might help you as a parent. Also help your child learn how to regulate their emotions a little bit better.
Yeah, I agree. So we will look at that. I really like that idea about doing that episode in the future. We'll probably do something like that next month.
Research on it.
Yeah, we'll do a little bit of research. I think it would be great to kind of go step by step on some ways that we can help you recognize some of these things and help you how to deal with a kid that gets to this point. Because I don't want to be just, oh, they finally got to that point, let's just take away the games. That's not necessarily the answer either, because they can get to this point with anything. Again, I will reassert this over and over and over. Everything in moderation. That's going to be my biggest takeaway of this. I will put the link in the description of this article if you want to dive into it a little bit more. It has a little bit more of the science. But again, just reinforcing that moderation, the screen time, learning how to manage it yourself, and understanding how to teach your kids how to manage that time as well can really go a long way, not just as they're a kid, but as they get into an adult. And again, I don't want to discourage the gaming world. I mean, if your kids play Fortnite, something big that just happened in Fortnite, they just opened up their creative. It's like creative 2.0. Your kid can literally go on Fortnite and make an entire video game in Fortnite. Like, there's so many options and opportunities, and you could take a kid that's 12 and next thing you know they want to be a video game developer. So they would have never done that if you didn't allow them to have the opportunity. So I love going on this podcast and explaining to parents, don't be afraid of gaming. If you're afraid of it, don't think it's going to completely corrupt your kid. Understand that gaming might become a hobby, might become a passion, could become a career, not just, and when we say career, we don't mean, if you listen to last week's episode talking about streaming and all that, we don't mean a career in streaming. We mean a career in, maybe they're a game art developer, maybe they're a game design level. There's all kinds of stuff that they can do. So with that being said, we're going to say good night and goodbye this week. Again, all the links in the description. I am James III. This is Kia Kane. If you want to catch us on Kia's Twitch channel, we would love to have you. We do record these episodes once a month. And then you can find us on YouTube under Parents vs. Gaming, or on any audio platform. Don't forget, subscribe, follow, share, comment. All those things really, really go a long way. And if you're on Kia's Twitch channel, you're able to comment during the episodes and stuff. And of course, kind of learn all the other things that she does. And maybe you are into baking. She didn't mention that this time, but she does a lot of in real life baking streams where she'll kind of go through how she does it. You can learn how to bake different things. She's amazing with her cookies as well. So that's always a lot of fun. I have lurked in the background many times watching Kia's baking streams while I'm working during the day. So they are quite entertaining, and you get to kind of really see who Kia is away from the gaming screen, which is a lot of fun.
Yes. I actually have a community challenge right now for people.
Hey, there you go.
Donate their channel points to have a pizza night. So I will be making homemade pizza on stream.
Gluten-free crust or regular crust?
I mean, it'll probably be regular crust, but I can make gluten-free crust.
Gotcha.
And I also have a recipe for that. And I can also, people, if they want to, they can follow along, and I will probably, put the recipe in my Discord. So people, if they want to, they can go out, get their own ingredients, and follow along while we make the pizza.
Hey, perfect. Well, thank you guys very much. We will see you next week, where we are going to talk about parents becoming gamers and how that affects, or actually gamers that become parents, and how your life changes. And if you're here watching live as we record this, we'll be back in just a moment. Thank you guys very much. We'll see you next week.